Hey everyone, Ryan here, and today I'm reviewing the LEGO Star Wars 8017 Darth Vader's TIE Fighter with 251 pieces. This set was released in 2009 for a retail price of $30. Adjusted for inflation, that's $40. However, if you want one in a brand new, shiny, sealed box in today's market, it's going to cost you $200+. That is absurdly expensive for Darth Vader's TIE Fighter here. Pretty simple model without an exclusive minifigure, just a plain old Darth Vader. Pretty absurd that this one's worth $200, but it is. Anyway, on the box you can see it is a special 10th anniversary edition set, and this could have a chrome Vader inside, so we'll see during the unboxing if I get lucky. It also says exclusive anniversary edition at the bottom, and it's got the OG LEGO Star Wars characters drawn onto the top right. I just love that look for the box art. Just beautiful art for this one. I am really hoping to get lucky with one of those chrome Vaders. It would be very, very cool. I've never been so fortunate to unbox kind of a chase thing like that. All right, moment of truth. I have always wanted it. Please be inside. Here we go. All right, that is a plastic bag, but I don't think it's chrome Vader. Oh, I mean, I didn't expect it, but then when I started to open it, I got kind of excited because I thought maybe this is what it would look like if I did find one, though. And these sealed in the package nowadays are worth about $400, so maybe that's part of what's contributing to the high price of these Darth Vader's TIE Fighters, is people trying to find the chrome Vaders. Here's a quick shot of nostalgia for you. I'm going to build this up and take a look at that Darth Vader fig. This was always one of my favorite Darth Vader minifigures growing up, and it's still fantastic to this day in my opinion. It definitely is lacking a leg and arm print that we might see on some modern Darth Vaders, but this is definitely one of the peak original style Darth Vaders. The torso is just extremely detailed, very nice looking, and you've got the regular red lightsaber, his helmet. The cape on this guy too is just perfection. It's such a perfect, strong looking cape on Darth Vader. And then if we remove the helmet, he does have a face underneath, and mine does look like the eyes are slightly shifted to the right, so it looks like he's looking off to the side, which I love about this one I pulled out of the box, obviously. So very cool looking figure, and Darth Vader is the only minifig in this set, which to me is a bit disappointing. Would have loved a little extra something else, maybe a Grand Moff Tarkin or something for $30 for Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, but you're only getting Darth Vader. This 2009 Darth Vader's TIE Fighter is unfortunately the last time we had a Darth Vader's TIE Fighter released on its own. The one that came after it in 2016 was tied into a 2-in-1 set with an A-Wing from Rebels that cost $90, and then we got a small version in the $500 Death Star, as well as a small version in the $130 Darth Vader's Castle. So it's a set that I expect to be remade somewhat in the near future, but for now, this is the most recent standalone Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, and at that, it's a pretty good-looking one for being 13 years old. They had switched over to the light gray for TIE Fighters at the time. The one prior to this came in blue and did not look quite as good, although they did have a similar design. This was just using some updated pieces here that make it look way better than even the most recent blue version of the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. But the one similarity that they really do share is this cockpit windshield piece, still using the OG windshield piece, which some people love, some people might not. I got a lot of nostalgia when I pulled this out of the box and was looking at it. I mean, it still, to this day, in my opinion, looks very good and still works for TIE Fighters, even though they have moved on and used some much nicer cockpit windshield pieces. You can see one there on my first order TIE Fighter, but like this still is very serviceable. The spot for studs underneath to make it look like it has blasters on the front is fantastic. It does look laughably ugly without them though, so definitely have them on there. It's kind of like when you have spring-loaded missiles or something on a set and you shoot them off and then you just have the empty spaces. That's what it's like, except on this set I think it's even worse. You'll find opening and getting into the cockpit area is really easy. It's on a hinge, so no like random jolts or anything trying to open it. Very easy to open. And then inside you'll find a bland control panel as well as a just relatively bland interior. Otherwise nothing really going on. You can see a small indent of extra space at the back, which is nice. It's going to give you enough space to get Darth Vader's helmet in there without it knocking up against the back wall. And having Vader in a seated position, he will sit in there even with his cape a little bent up in there. I'm not a huge fan of the way the cape ends up. Like, it's definitely not ideal to have his cape bent like that, but it's the only way it works. So for what it's worth, that's what he looks like in there. I don't know. It's a little bit lame looking to me. Of course, it'll close up with him in there. Just like, I don't know. I just wouldn't display it with him in there because I feel like it's going to ruin the cape by bending it. Obviously, we had a fresh, brand new cape when we put him in there, and Afterwards, it's still looking pretty nice, but I'm sure it would wear quite terribly over time, so wouldn't recommend keeping them in there for long. It doesn't like lock or anything either. It's very free moving. There's no way to there's no studs down here or anything holding it down, but it's also something that doesn't move too much during the course of play, so it's not like it really needed studs to hold it down. The underside of the TIE Fighter is otherwise pretty bland, except for right in the middle there, one clip made for Darth Vader's lightsaber. So that way you don't have to stuff it into the cockpit while he's in there. You can just stick it underneath on the back of the TIE Fighter where it will never be seen. The top middle section has a sticker right above the cockpit. Then we have the printed piece on top for the top part of TIE Fighters, which is another piece that they've been using for a long time at this point. I mean, this was like a 10-year piece here, and it looks really good, but it was just old by this time, and this was one of the last uses of it, if I recall correctly. Then we have another sticker behind there with extra detail, some detail built with Lego pieces behind that. It's not like the most detailed model ever, but for like a $30 model, it feels pretty well detailed. Like, I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. And then you might notice these like rods or pieces sticking out on both sides, and those are actually for your flick fire missiles on either side of the cockpit. So all you have to do is push on these and they will just kind of lamely fall out. Let me see if I push harder if one will come out faster. Yeah, that one actually shot out pretty good. But flick fire missiles grew to be hated by most, but I think they work well in this set, and they are nicely hidden into the design. Like, you can hardly notice whether it's there or on this side not there. Like, I don't think it makes a difference. So it's not like it's also a flick fire missile that you actually have to flick with your finger. So that's a big plus as well. The wing design here is just fantastic with the light bluish gray look, and we have one of our stickers there as well. We're going to see the exact same sticker on the other side with the other wing, and the wings do have a nice curve to them. You can adjust this curve by pushing up. It can move up either 1 or 2 spots. Obviously not accurate. They are supposed to be curved down like that, but as like a thing for kids, I guess, it could be a fun, imaginative, unintentional play feature. So while this model is generally pretty swooshable, nice to play around with, if you get a little rough with it, it can be a bit problematic. Even not rough. I've had them just kind of fall off during like normal movements, but for the purposes of this test here, I'm just going to shake it a little violently, and you'll notice these 2x2 tiles might disconnect and the wings themselves might disconnect. There goes the tile real quick and easy. That one just fell right off. And see how these are kind of 2 separate plates there? Well, the 2x2 tile on top is kind of holding them together. At least it's part of what's holding them together. And unfortunately, they didn't add another piece on the bottom to help hold it together, so you end up with something that can break pretty easily there. With that piece in particular, you can see how it can just come off when you're twisting it or doing anything kind of crazy movement-wise, and certainly kids are apt to do that. But sometimes the wings themselves can be a bit problematic where they'll want to fall off. In this case, maybe just a slight push. Maybe that's the best way to show it. Like, you slightly push on them and they get dislodged, and then they can come out super easily. I mean, you saw how easy that just popped right off. That was a problem on these earlier TIE Fighter models. So when you end up with really big and relatively heavy wings for a TIE Fighter like this, basically the balance of it is pretty rough, and if you slightly push on them the wrong way, like I showed, they'll fall off, and that's like because these are your only 2 connection points, and it's not actually that strong of a connection when you're just using Technic pieces like that. So in future models, I think they use like some beams or bars or whatever. Like, they just definitely used better connection methods. This just wasn't it, and I think this was one of the last models that used this type of connection method for TIE Fighters, because it really at this point was outdated and needed to be rethought, because that is a problem when it can just pop off so easily. For 2009, I don't think it's crazy to say this set felt ahead of its time in the looks department, but it failed to back it up with the build quality. As you can see, just a lot of pieces falling off randomly through use that just isn't a typical experience with most LEGO Star Wars sets nowadays. That being said, as someone who displays things on a shelf, all of that is irrelevant to me. This thing looks great. I just think for a playset for kids, it was a bit lacking for strength, but maybe the Darth Vader figure as well is a bit bland. But ultimately, this is another set that I just don't think is worth buying in 2022. I think because LEGO is probably going to remake this because it's Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, why wouldn't they? It's an original trilogy build. It's something that people probably want and would be popular. Like, they would be crazy not to remake it. I just don't see a good reason to go out and spend $200 on this sealed in the box, especially when it doesn't offer like a unique Darth Vader figure. Your shot at a Chrome Vader is very low, and you're probably going to end up with a better model on shelves in a year or two. So I just wouldn't bother with this one, as cool as it is, as cool as its box is. You know, it's got a lot going for it. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. On the outside, it looks really good, but it's definitely got some flaws in the build. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars set reviews on the end screen now.